right, welcome back to another episode of The Potential Project. I'm your host, Sean Calhoun, and I thank you for joining me again this week. Now, today I want to talk about why so many women feel like they're failing at their health plan when in reality, the plan just might be failing them, right? Because if you're listening to this, you're probably someone who is active, who's working on their health, who wants to improve, and is doing something about it, right? You're not just sitting on the couch scrolling on your phone hoping that something will randomly happen. You are active in your health journey. That's why you're listening to this show. Now, a lot of women come to me with similar conversations, right? They say things like, I've tried everything. I eat healthy. I work out. I've done the low carb, the low fat. I've tried intermittent fasting, tracking. I'm on all these supplements, right? I've done the boot camp workouts and I've done all of it, and my body just isn't changing the way I want it to. Now, the issue with this usually isn't the effort that they're putting in. It's the plan that is not specific enough to what their body actually needs. And again, there are women that are in all phases of their health journey, but most of the women that I work with are people that are trying. They're not just like, I wish I could lose weight or I wish I could feel better. No, they're working out, they're tracking food. They've done things for years, right? And these are the women that I particularly work with. Now, there's a problem with the templates, the templated plans that are just given out and thrown to people in a PDF in hopes that you'll feel better, right? You're getting things like generic workouts, generic meal plans, generic calorie targets, these generic supplement protocols that you buy stuff from Costco and it's not even regulated or have good quality in it, and you're just buying random stuff, right? And this generic advice that you hear all over the place, like lift weights and eat more protein. It's like, yes, of course, those are good things, but it's not always enough, right? Like this good advice that could be applied to the wrong person at the wrong time can still create the wrong results, right? So for example, let's say that you're a woman and you might need some strength training, but you might not be sleeping good, or you're under eating and your body's inflamed and you're stressed out from work. If you add harder workouts to your plan, to your habits, to your schedule, it's going to just make you feel worse. So that's just, or let's say you might need more protein, but if your digestion's off, you're always bloated after meals, and the functionality of your gut microbiome is off, then you're gonna struggle to tolerate foods that are even quote unquote healthy for you and that you're being told to eat because they're on your meal plan. Now, this is exactly what is going on with my wife, Gianna. She's been dealing with, bloating after meals and just feeling like not so great after foods. And let me tell you, she eats the same foods that I do. We eat healthy. We eat 90% whole foods, single ingredients. We're cooking at home. Like, we're doing all of the things. But yet after a meal, I feel satiated and full and fine. And she might feel like her stomach's going to burst from how bloated she is, right? So just because you're eating the foods that are on the quote unquote plan or the template, or that they're healthy, doesn't always mean that they're a right fit for you. And if you're listening to this as a woman who has gone through or is going through like perimenopause, menopausal phases, this could affect you even more, because when you were in your 20s and 30s, your body was maybe more forgiving, right? You could cut some calories, do some extra, time on the treadmill, or do an extra workout and tighten up your diet, and all of a sudden you see results. Like, you knew you could do that pretty quickly. But once you hit your 40s, 50s, and beyond, and you're in that perimenopause, menopausal phase, the body becomes less tolerant of stress. And that's because of a couple things, right? Like your hormones are shifting, your sleep often changes, your muscle mass becomes harder to maintain, your insulin sensitivity could be changing, the stress on your body feels heavier, your digestion can be slowing down, right? Inflammation can become more noticeable. So that old approach that you did before, where it was just like push a little harder, tighten things up for a few weeks, that can sometimes backfire and actually be worse. So just remember, I always say this, right? But like the body that you have now, it's not broken, but it does require a different level of support. You're not just getting older, your body's not broken, like those phrases that we hear all the time. You will need a different approach and a different level of support in this phase of your life, right? And what I see often is like, and this is the emotional part, right? Is how I see women blaming themselves or like beating themselves up mentally, emotionally, and I don't know, maybe even physically, right? How I see it all the time, right? How frustrating it must feel when you're doing all the things that you were told to do, but you're not seeing the result, right? You're working out, you're tracking your macros, you're whatever, you're hitting your protein goal. Like those things are all great. And as someone who cares about their health and is wanting to make the step, those are foundational things. I'm not saying that you shouldn't track your food. I'm not saying you shouldn't eat your protein or strength training. You should do all of those things as a baseline, because if you're not, then you're not even trying. But if you're someone who is trying and you're frustrated right now, these are the things that I hear, right? I must be lazy. I'm probably not disciplined enough. Maybe this is just me getting older. Maybe my metabolism is ruined. Maybe this is just my body now, right? These are maybe some things that you've said to yourself or some things that you've heard from friends and family. But you got to realize that a lot of times you really never had a plan that was built around you, the individual. Not just a menopausal woman, not just someone who's been working out for years. You, the individual, like you are unlike no one else on this entire planet. So therefore, sometimes we cannot have the same plan as other people, even if they are the same age and going through similar things, right? Because you've done things like had a workout plan template. You've had advice. You've had, pieces of the puzzle that you're trying to put together, but you might not have had the entire picture. Like before, like I said about the foods, right? Like you may have had a meal plan that you were following, but even if those healthy foods were causing you to be inflamed and your gut is not healed properly and cannot digest those nutrients properly, well then guess what? You're going to still deal with bloating. You're still going to deal with fatigue and mood swings and frustration in trying to lose weight, because that just was not going to work for you, no matter how hard and how disciplined you were. Now, this is where I like to get into more of the nitty gritty with what I do, because these cookie cutter plans or these templates that you might get, they miss a lot of things, right? Some things that they don't account for are hormonal patterns, your body's response to cortisol and stress. Your gut health is a big one. I mean, like I said about my wife, we got her lab results back for her gut, and there was a lot of things going on down there that need addressing before even the healthy foods can take part in her health journey, right? If your gut is not healed and you have what's called maybe leaky gut, or you're inflamed down there and your immune system's under fire, then it's going to be really hard to feel good. Things like bloating and digestion, food sensitivities, your blood sugar regulation, what does that look like throughout the day? Your sleep quality, your ability to recover the inflammation in your body, your body's ability to detox the stressors and the toxins that are in your body, just like your actual lifestyle demands. What is your schedule like? Your emotional stress, maybe you're someone who deals with things in a really harsh way, or you've been through a lot of emotional trauma in life, and just the ability to have barriers within your schedule and set some time for yourself. And when I work with women, I'm not just asking, what diet should we follow? I'm asking, why is your body resisting the results that you actually want? So there's a lot more that goes into figuring out who you are as a person, what you've experienced, your entire, health history in a detailed level, so that I can understand you, the person, not just a number on a lab sheet or what type of macros you should be eating, right? Like there's a lot more that goes into it than just those simple numbers. Now, what I do, like I said, is it's personalized and it's in a group. So everyone that I work with gets a personalized protocol, because again, you need it, right? Like we said before, we can't simply try what someone else has done. It may work because you just might get lucky in a sense, but if you really want to understand what's going on for you and how to fix it, you need a personalized plan. So inside my coaching program, the Vitality Wellness Collective, the goal is not to throw out like random habits at someone. Now, if you're inside of it, you might see in the program, I do have foundational lessons. We always talk about how to properly hydrate, how to protect and get better sleep, how to strength train, the importance of walking, the importance and the power of balancing your circadian rhythm. All of these things, like I said, are foundational. And if you are someone who hopes to utilize a custom protocol, you have to have those in place. Those are your foundation. And just like a skyscraper, if you don't have a strong foundation, it will not stand. So you cannot think that, hey, I'm just going to get my labs done and Sean's going to answer all my prayers and things are going to be great. Well, if you're someone who doesn't move your body and doesn't sleep well and is not getting sunlight, like that's going to be really hard to do, almost impossible. So again, there are foundational steps that we talk about within the context of our program. But what we look at deeper is, number one, we get the full spectrum of your health history and you as a person. So that has to be number one. We have to know you inside and out. Then we're going to look at things like your symptoms, your daily habits, your nutrition, your sleep, the stressors in your life. What type of movement do you do on a regular basis? How is your recovery? Then we do some functional lab testing, right, that are going to assess things like your hormones, your gut, your food sensitivities. We're going to look at your life schedule. Because again, we can't say you must work out at this time, you must do this at this time. We have to work it around your schedule, and there's some give and take. Sometimes we need to change our schedule a bit, but we can't just uproot our whole entire life and expect it to be hunky-dory with this perfect setup. No, we have a life, we have a job probably, we have family, and we work around your life schedule. And we also look at what hasn't worked before. So if you're doing a couple things and they're just leading you in the wrong direction, well, then we need to see those patterns and correct them going forward. So the personalized coaching that we do, it's not just about making health more complicated or adding habits. It's about making these simple but correct changes so that the path becomes clear, right? That's what it's really about, is that we take the complex organism of our body. It's got so much, the biology of our body is so incredible and there's so much detail into it that we would be overwhelmed at trying to figure this all out. So my goal is to help take that complex organism, the complexity behind the science behind it, simplify it, and create it for your lifestyle so that it just becomes, 1, 2, 3. Here's my habits. Here's what I'm going to start to change. Here's my mindset shift. Now, I mentioned before, one of the key components of what we do is to run functional labs, right? And the whole basis behind keeping this simple and not too technical is why I do functional lab testing, right? Not because, labs are going to magically fix all of your problems, but because they give us information. They're going to help us see a ton of things that you really can't see. I mean, you might be able to understand through your symptoms, but you can't see from the outside in, right? Where there's stress that might be showing up, how your gut is functioning, whether certain foods are creating inflammation in your body or not, how your digestion is, how your detox is, how, your body's responding to workouts, where your body might need support first. There's a cascade effect that happens when you address what's going on, you see the stressors that are on your body, and we might choose a pathway that starts with healing your gut first. We might choose a pathway that starts with giving your adrenal glands a little more support so it can help bring some energy back to your body, right? There's a different approach for each person. And the testing that we're doing just helps bring clarity to that all. And the clarity that we gain from the labs helps create a better plan. Now, I don't always say this, but from the time that I started doing functional health, people would hear about what I do and maybe they don't fully understand because they don't listen to the podcast or I haven't had a conversation with them. But I have a lot of people who come to me and it almost seems like they just want to get labs from me like a vending machine. Like, oh, Sean, how much does that lab cost? Or what does it cost to buy this lab? And that's not how it works, right? Like when it comes down to this personalized coaching, I could order you a lab all day. You could do it. And there's going to be nothing from that, right? You could do one lab and you might think that's going to solve your problem. But again, you're just doing the whole throw something at the wall and see what lands. With my program, I have a set amount of labs that are specific to solving your problems and giving us a general scope of what's going on rather than just guessing. We get to see all of what's going on inside your body. And then we use a specific format in coaching you through this in your health journey, because it's not as simple as getting your lab results and all of a sudden your problems are solved. No, it's a process. It's a give and take. There is some type of, hey, let's take this path, choose these habits, and record how we're feeling and make adjustments along the way. There was a phrase that they talk about rockets that go to the moon. And they say that the rocket fails its way to the moon because the way it works is their destination is the moon, and it goes up and then it goes off track, and then it has a system in there to get it back on track and move forward. Then it goes off track again, then it gets back on track. Then it literally does that 1,000,000 times on its way to the moon, and then can land with precision where it's trying to go. Well, health building and creating the results that you're looking for works exactly the same way. If we get your lab results and we suggest a habit or an adjustment in your lifestyle, well, it's not just going to be perfect and that thing goes, right? It's you're working towards it, you get off track a little bit and you veer back on. So I'm going to refer to Gianna again. The first lab that we did was her food sensitivities. Now she started, reducing and eliminating the foods that were highly sensitive to her. And right away, it's not like she snapped her fingers, removed those foods for a couple days or a week, and all of a sudden all of her problems were gone. No, that's getting us going in the right direction. And there's a little less inflammation, a little less bloating, and boom, we work on the next thing. So it's layered upon one another. And I just wanted to point that out because, I do get folks who ask, oh, do you think I could do this test? And it's, well, yes, but what you should be asking is, can we work together to find out a plan and coach through it? Because a lab without a coach or without some type of protocol is useless almost. So again, back to the whole point of the labs is when you know what you're working with, you can stop throwing these random scenarios at the wall and hoping that something works. You have the direction, you have the clarity. So let's give you an example, right? Like put yourself in the shoes of a new client, or let's just say a woman comes to me and says she wants to lose belly fat. Well, the generic approach might say, and this you might have done this before, is that you should be eating less, you should up your workouts, you should track your calories, and you should cut your carbs, right? Theoretically, that's what we've been told needs to happen when you want to lose weight. But through a personalized lens, we might find that after doing some intake and getting to know this woman, that she's waking up every morning at 3 a.m. She feels bloated after her meals. Maybe she's overdoing these intense workouts at 5 a.m. She's stressed out all day. She's reacting to her foods and getting bloated that she eats pretty much every meal, right? Her digestion's poor. Her body doesn't know how to feel safe enough to drop the weight, right? So the first step that we take with this person might not be more discipline or push harder. It might be to step back and look into things like, okay, how can we improve your sleep? How can we support your digestion? How can we help stabilize your blood sugar? What are we going to do to reduce the inflammatory foods in your diet? How can we get a few more steps in your day? What does a proper strength training and lifting program look like for you in this phase of your life? And just create a realistic routine that you can do consistently and doesn't feel too overwhelming, right? And that person, that woman that I just talked about, she doesn't need a harder plan, right? She's already got enough on her plate. She just needed the right plan and something that she feels confident in. So, like I said, a lot of times, and there's nothing wrong with this, but most women, when they come talk to me or have interest in what we do, is they want to lose weight. They want weight loss, which is completely valid and it is a great goal to have. But what they also want is to feel like themselves again. They want more energy. They want to sleep better. They want to be less bloated. They want to have more confidence, less frustration, be in a better mood, right? These are all things that they actively want. Sometimes it's not very clear to them at first, right? They want a body that responds to the things that they're doing, the workouts, the food. They want a body that responds to that. And most importantly, they want the plan that they can sustain, right? Because there is no lack of information out there. You could go Google a strength training plan. You could go Google an ideal whole food plan that hits your protein goals. But the reason why we don't do them is because they are either so cookie cutter that you're not getting results from them and you get a little frustrated, or they're so complex that it's too overwhelming to even try. So even though weight loss is often the goal, that's okay, but the path to get there is usually improving the function of your body first, right? Healing from the inside, checking the gut, improving digestion, improving sleep, all of these non-flashy ways to improve your health and compound over time will eventually lead to your body releasing some stored fat. So just remember, your body is not failing you. It's trying to communicate with you. And if what you're doing right now is not working, that doesn't mean that you need to hate on yourself or make yourself more disciplined and restrict yourself or just punish yourself in the gym. It may mean that you just need better information. You need better support. You need a plan that actually fits your body and your lifestyle. So, you don't need some random template that you can follow. You need clarity, you need direction, and you need a plan that's built around you, the individual, not just the fact that you're a menopausal woman. It's got to be you specifically, the individual. And if this sounds like you and you've tried diets, workouts, supplements, but your body's still not responding, I would love to help give you some clarity. If that's all I could do for you is just give you some clarity and some peace of mind, it would be worth it. And the way that I like to do that is I have created a free menopause masterclass, which I could send you the link to. If you send me a message, I'd love to share that out with you. And that could hopefully go into more detail and bring you some more clarity. So if this landed with you, shoot me a message or share it with a friend who needs to hear this. But I will see you guys next week. Hey, thanks for spending some time with me on today's episode. I hope you got a ton of value from it. If we're not connected on Instagram yet, let's change that. Hit me up at Sean Calhoun _. That's SEAN Calhoun _ Shoot me a DM. Let me know what you think of the show or if you got any questions about how to level up your health. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you on the next episode.